Good. Self?
Yeah, mate, going good. How's mate? Nice to meet you. How are you?
Yeah, look, I'm enjoying a bit of quiet time at the moment, so it's nice.
Mate, looks like you're at work. I thought,
Yeah, that's quiet time.
is it?
Away from home.
Mate, how's everything in Canberra at the moment?
Well, look, it's quiet because it's still in lockdown, so probably obviously very limited in what you can do. So all those restrictions are still on. I think we come out of lockdown officially tomorrow, but then there's another 2 weeks, with all those 4 square metre rules and blah, blah, blah. So
You got to sit down when you have a beer and all that kind of shit.
Well, yeah, and limits of 25. So I think it'll open up more at the end of the month. So supposedly after the 29th, then you can maybe head down the coast and things like that. So
has it affected you guys much in terms of like the footy side of things?
Well, no. I mean, it obviously killed the local competition, which had killed everywhere except Brisbane. So the boys had to stop playing. But we got an exemption then to be able to train. So we had a sort of a 9-week block. We could get the boys in, those that were here, and get a fair bit of work done. Not rugby-wise, just a little bit of skill, but a bit of conditioning, strength, speed. So
just give the boys a bit of normalcy,
Yeah, that's right. So they were able to come in and then sort of we're on a 4-week break now before we start on the 8th. There's about 18 guys down there this morning. Rehab guys, a few other guys working away and just offering a bit of skills. So again, because you can't travel, so no one can go away. So everyone's still here. So and the weather's shit. So
it's been shit down there as well. It's shit here. Like I'm in Sydney and it feels like winter at the moment.
Yeah, look, it's cold and raining. Big storm last night. It's belting down at the moment out there, and it's well, it's not too cold, but it's just like you can't do anything.
Yeah, fair enough, mate.
Well, how good?
What's that? Yeah,
how good's that?
Well, yeah, mate. I was going to ask, like, how I do the podcast is because normally when I interview someone or talk to someone, they want questions sent to them beforehand. But you're one of the few that didn't. So I got a few questions, but I figured let's just talk and see what comes out.
Well, that's right. Yeah, rather than be organised. So it's make it more conversational. Like, yeah.
It seems to work better anyway. But I just want to ask, in the last 2 years during COVID, how have you found the period personally? Like, what's your way of dealing with it? Because I've seen a lot of people I know have had really good ways of dealing with it, and some people have been really struggling with it. So, how have you actually dealt with it yourself?
Well, personally, like, I quite like, I'm happy to get out in the garden and do plenty of work out there. I'm happy to watch rugby and learn and see what different teams and different people are doing. So I'm not at my stage of life. Like, I'm not worried about going out. I miss going down the coast. That's probably what I missed it most on. But again, I'm happy that we've been able to tick the boys along really for the whole period. So then you're constantly looking in relation to work of ways of making each individual better, making the team better, and then away from work, as I'm happy to get out in the garden, got a little home gym, do some boxing, read a book and those sorts of things. So I still got family around, so life hasn't changed that dramatically for me.
What about dealing with the boys? Because you're a mentor of coach of a lot of young guys. Have they dealt with it pretty well, or have you had to help, guide people through it? Like, what's that been like?
Look, not really. I guess a few guys have probably struggled in the background, but oftentimes, they don't want a coach to know that they might be battling with certain things. And but I guess we've, particularly over the last period, tried to provide an environment that's not invasive, that's not cracking the whip. It's about coming and learning, enjoying yourself, educational, trying to get better. So at another time, you'd potentially quite demanding and and you want energy, accuracy, or effort, all those things. But it's probably a chance to take half a step back, make it a place that they actually want to come to, because they'll know they've got their mates here for a start. It's back the heat off a little bit, enable them again to let's pick 2 or 3 things where you can get better. So it's to create an environment for that where you're not winning and losing games at the moment. You're not preparing to put your neck on the line on a Saturday. So make it a place that they genuinely want to come, feel at ease, and can make progress in chosen areas.
You mentioned before that you like to do a bit of learning. Where do you look for new ideas, and like, what's your process in trying new things and, looking for things?
Well, my process is to watch, like maybe particularly this time of year, 4 or 5 games a week. So this week I've watched Harlequins Bristol. I've watched Munster v Scarlets. I've watched Gloucester v Sale, and then to look at, I look at defence lines, I look at tackle technique, I look at breakdown contest, I look at mauling, I look at kick chase, a whole range of things, and I'll cut anything between 10, 15 clips out of a game and little bits and pieces, and then I've got a reasonably strong philosophy around all those areas of the game, but oftentimes you're looking at a piece of play that you can work into a drill to develop a certain thing. So it's not that easy, particularly the last 2 years, to get your professional development by going somewhere. Yep. And even if you go somewhere, you're really going to one place. Whereas if you watch games with an eye, not for just the joy of watching the game, but looking at particular things, I find great learning. And you either get affirmation that what you're doing is on the right track, or you can see small improvements. I watched the Munster number 7 the other day, Chris Cloet, and just looking at technically how he works, his speed of movement, his body shape. Clip a few of those, and at some stage I'll sit down with our 7s and look at those sort of things. So we're all learning from other people.
When you do that, do you watch the game live, or would you download it and just go through it slowly?
Yeah, I download it, so I get the boys here to put it to download it for me, so that I can slow-mo, stop, start, and look at things in real detail. So and then I can cut it out. I can cut clips on the sports code. So I'm not getting up in the middle of the night to watch footy anymore. I need my sleep too much. But again, I can just, and like there's a lot of footy on stand again, but you obviously can't cut from stand, and you've got to drag the cursor back. So download it onto a sports code, and I've got it there, cut my clips, and then I move on. So for me, it's a really valuable learning tool. And not only that, it's really good for training your eye for detail, because one of the hard things about coaching, particularly at training, is to make sure that you've got an eye for detail, because you could be running a drill and somebody could be doing it absolutely wrong, for 5 reps. Now that's just an absolute waste of everybody's time. So to be able to actually have 20 people working and to be able to train your eye to be seeing that we're getting quality in what we're doing is most important. You only get limited training time, so it's got to be quality. So I find it really good, and then I find it really good to train me for game day again, because you can get wrapped up in watching the spectacle on game day, as opposed to watching the detail of what you're supposed to be coaching and analysing, and where things are going well and where things need to improve. So without spending an inordinate amount of time, it's just for me, it's the ideal tool to see what's current, to see what trends are in the game, but also to train your eye for your training and for your game day.
A lot of questions there. Something I've been sort of exploring in my own life is using failure as a tool to learn and to improve. Do you ever try things that don't work?
Often. I'm always sort of experimenting with drills and look. I don't want people to fail on purpose. I won't. So I don't set them up for failure. But my philosophy in coaching would be: I'm not going to sit here and offer you a 5-minute explanation of a drill so you get it perfectly. That people generally learn by doing. So I'd have a basic philosophy. If I can't tell you in 2 minutes what I mean or what I want, then it's too complex. So I've got to limit my instructions. Then I've got to say, right, in you go. Let's learn from doing. And then the challenge of coaching on the run, of stopping, of giving a bite-sized piece of information, and then consistently checking for learning. You know, like a lot of guys these days, a lot of people these days get their information from their phone, from whatever, whatever they're on. So the skill of actually listening and watching somebody, processing information, and then executing, it's uncommon. It's not easy for a lot of young guys these days. I reckon they really, really struggle with it. So again, so you can't be explaining for too long. People are going to make mistakes. Mistakes are fine as long as we learn from them. But what we can't do is make 5 minutes or 10 minutes worth of mistakes, because we're wasting time. Make mistakes. How did that feel? What do you think? What can we do differently, better? Bang, crack on again. And we keep going that way. But constantly checking that is there learning there? Is there understanding there? Do my players know what good looks like? Do they know what good feels like? So if I'm not doing that, I might think, fuck, I've coached a great session, really good. But if the guys haven't learned, then it's my presentation and drills may have been fantastic. But if it didn't resonate, if they didn't understand, what have I achieved?
Do you do that just simply by asking them? Like, what are our key points we've got from this session? Falau, what did you take away from that? Is that how you go about it?
Yeah, oftentimes. So I might it's something we do consistently. So I might say, well, what are the 3 most important things in this activity, lads? Or what are the 2 keys in your carry, et cetera. Whatever, and everything's got to be simple. So anything you do might have 2 or 3 or 4 key points, and they should. But again, you find that guys can rattle those things off. But then, do they know how to execute it? So they might say, well, if I'm carrying, I can't hinge too much at the waist. I've got to get power out of my body position through knees and hips. So, and I've been talking to Palms recently about that. So, like, the boys can power it off the important things in scrummaging, step by step, where the problem solve is, what we do. But can they actually see themselves and feel themselves and problem solve in that moment? And so that's the key as well. So it's not just the fact that you can repeat the information that I've given you. Can you, on the run? So if I scream something out, can you then make an adjustment in your next opportunity to what was said, rather than just give the information back to me? So it's cross-checking in a range of different ways.
So, okay, skill acquisition takes time. So if you're trying to teach a group something new, and they might get it the first time, but then the next time they do it, what's your thought process on skill acquisition? Because it's a weird role being a professional coach. You're judged on results, but often improving a team can take some time. And you've got some young guys coming in, you've got some older guys who are probably more developed.
Yeah.
What's your approach with sort of balancing results with improving people?
Well, my general, particularly in my aspects of the game, is I used to be really big on just close skill, get it right in close skill, and it'll be near enough in the game. But I've sort of changed over time now. That I reckon you've got to do the majority of your learning at game speed, game power. So I might introduce a skill. It might be a carry, support, reaction to what's your role of clean out drill. And we might have isolated each of those. So isolate your carry, isolate your groundwork, isolate your reaction. But what then I've got to do is it's not about chasing 100 reps. Now, again, most skill acquisition or with your perception, action coupling or muscle or training muscle memory, it's all about reps. But I reckon people get bored. A lot of guys can get bored with just repping. And if you do a lot of reps, it's got to be done at a reduced pace. So my philosophy now is that you get the basics in a closed skill, but I've got to get it into a decision-making, a reaction-demanding environment done at game pace. So my philosophy now is to do a little bit of core skill, closed skill, and then to develop drills where you've got to go, that you are balls out. If you're carrying, you are powerful. If you are supporting, you are sharp off a leg, back to contest, and it's done at maximum speed. So if you're doing it that way, you can't do 100 of them.
Yeah.
So then I've got the boys need to understand today we've been doing some stuff lately where it might be a 4.5 minute activity. We go every 20 seconds, and in that you're going to get 2 carries, you're going to get 2 supports from the right, 2 supports from the left, and 4 shield holds. So that's all you're getting, lads. So to me, then I find that it now sharpens the focus, because they're not thinking, oh shit, it's 5 minutes, I'm going to get 20 reps at 60%. I'm just going to grind my way through it. I can turn my brain off and just do it. Whereas if I tighten it up, I go explosive, I go dynamic, I go less reps, but you've got to be good. You've got to be good, because if you're not good, you get shown up. So I sort of, over a period of turned my sort of philosophy upside down over the last couple of years.
Do you use much video as feedback for guys?
Yes, I do, and I would ask them in any given week. So all our stuff gets videoed. If I've got 25 or 30 guys, I'm not cutting video for 25 or 30 guys. So the onus is on them.
Yeah.
So in any given week, say in pre-season, you've got to be cutting whatever it is, minimum 10 clips, 15 clips, 20 clips, whatever, and then you can come and see me. If I see some glaring things that I want to point out, I'll cut them. But I'm not going to cut 10 clips for 25 guys. That's 250 clips I've got to cut.
Yeah.
I don't have time for that. So they've got to take responsibility for that, which then comes back to what I've got to teach them is what good looks like and what good feels like. So you know yourself, boys get down watching the video and someone will trip over it and it's all a laugh, like it's entertainment. So you've got to trying to train their eye so that they can watch training and know what they're looking for. They're looking for footwork, looking for body position, looking for reaction speed, all those things, so that then they understand. So again, what good looks like, what good feels like, the ability to look at training footage, watch yourself, watch somebody else. That's fantastic. I need to develop this. I'll go and show Laurie this, get his thoughts on that. So it's that educational process, but it puts the onus on them as their primary coach, them to make themselves better, and I'm assisting in the process. But if they don't do that, then our hands are tied. If they don't take responsibility, if they don't understand, if they can't see, if they don't know what it looks like or feels like, then we're going to hit a ceiling pretty quickly.
How does it work with your coaching team? Because I've just started coaching this year, and we've got a very good coaching team at Southern Districts. Is it something that you guys just sit down and work out? Like Palms is doing scrums, Dan McCullough's doing lineouts. Do you all work together? Like, is it something that you sit down and consciously talk about how to actually work together?
Yeah, look again, we're all in the same office and it's an open office, so that's advantageous for a start. We've all got a lead in certain aspects of the game, but we've also got an understanding that we've also got that we've all got a responsibility that if we see something or have a suggestion in somebody else's area of the game, that we should be offering those suggestions. So it's sort of trying to create that open environment. We've all been coaching, most of us have been coaching for long periods of time and have a broad understanding. So you've got to take control of your area, but you've got to be open-minded, not be offended if somebody sees something that they think could be done differently or better. So then it's general discussion. So when we had spent 2 days last week looking at different aspects of our game and where we need to get better and how we're going to get better, and around in most areas, in fact, particularly counter attack, particularly in terms of breakdown reaction speed, in terms of our general attacking game, in terms of our tackle technique. So it's the beauty of being in a professional environment. For a start, you're all in the same room the whole time, unlike club coaching where you're probably catching up over the phone or an hour before training, etc., etc. So we've got the luxury of spending 40 or 50 hours a week together to throw ideas. And if I see something, I might walk over to Salvi's desk and show him a clip that I cut, and then or draw something up on the whiteboard, and just to make sure that just because you're in the same room doesn't mean you necessarily cross-pollinate. But so you've got to make the effort that if you've got an idea, if you see something, you've got to say something. Might be good, might be a suggestion, but then you've also got to have. I've sort of got a philosophy that if I really believe in something in a different area, that oftentimes an idea gets knocked back first time. So you've got to have a bit of a thick skin. And I sort of have a policy that if I really believe in it, I'll have 3 cracks to try and get my point across. And in the end, it's that person's responsibility in that area of their game. Yeah. So I've got to let them take responsibility for it. And that's fine. But if I genuinely believe that I'll come back a second time, I'll come back a third time, and then I'll say, all right, understand, we'll row in and we'll give it 100% in the way that you want to do it.
Is that something you like? Is that a process that you talk about? Like just say with palms, like if you see something in the scrums that you think might be a good idea, you go, all right, Dan, let's have a look at this. What do you think about this? And is that something just happens organically, or is it something that you actually talked about? Well, like how to deal with that?
That's just my philosophy on it.
Okay.
I don't know how the other guys deal with reject. Yeah, some guys get an idea rejected and then that's it. They won't come up with another idea. So, but it's like anything. You've got to have a process in place. Like nobody likes rejection of any sorts. So you come up with an idea and then it gets, don't like that.
Yeah.
And it's easy then to go back into your shell and say, well, geez, it's like when you're a young kid, you put your hand up and you get the answer wrong or something, and then, well, that's it for the next 12 months. I'm never answering another question. Or how often do you sit there? How often did you sit there as a kid and say, geez, I wish I put my hand up. I knew that answer, but you never put your hand up. So you got to find your own way. Everybody has a different personality. So my way of making sure that I don't go back in my shell, because that would be my personality to do that, is to establish a framework in how I accept somebody disagreeing with me, but not just saying, oh, well, that's it. Having a genuine belief in what I want to do. And so my process is knock 3 times and then I've done all I can, and then I've got to support the person who's got responsibility for that.
Do you ever have these kind of interactions with the players as well? Like someone might come to you with an idea or is not liking the way you go about something. Do you have a process for dealing with that kind of conflict as well?
Yes, I do. And the first process is to listen. And I encourage it. Like I had a lot of conversations with Poey, like 3-4 years ago. And I said to him that the one thing that coaches rarely, if ever, get feedback on is if something's good. So, so I said to him, like, if you think that was a good session, or you really liked a particular part of it, come up and say that, because then if there's a particular thing that you also want to say, well, I reckon that could be done better, then all of a sudden we've created a far better relationship than just, that I'll say nothing when it's good, but I'll give you a negative feedback when I don't agree. And so with all the players now, in the one-on-ones, trying to establish that relationship where, and when as a society, we're not good at that. We're happy to criticise, but most often 90% of things are good, and the 10% can improve. But how rarely do we get that positive reinforcement? And players certainly don't provide that. They're not used or comfortable with providing that positive reinforcement to coaches.
So you'll encourage that sort of positive and negative feedback, so that
absolutely, it's just how and when you do it, and that's the key. So it's so my philosophy would, like, you're either in my ear during a session, like it's not stop and talk in front of everybody, that if you want to give in my ear quickly, or come and talk to me afterwards and let's see if there is an improvement for next time. And quite often there is, like I've learned a lot from players over the years, a lot. I mean, they're the practitioners, they're the people out there. They know what it feels like, what it smells like out there. So I've got a really, really open mind and an open ear. It's just making sure that it's done in the right way, at the right time. And it's, as I say, and it's always balanced. Look at the good things. How can we make good things better? Right? Yeah. And that's creates a far better way to look at things, rather than just picking on the 10% that can be done better. How can the 90% be done better? How can I extend that? So just a framework for looking at things, for creating a relationship that deals with both sides in a really good, positive and learning way.
What's your view on having a working relationship with players? Because I've heard every theory from, I don't like to get close to players because one day I might have to make a decision on their career, to I think I read an article where Steve Hansen said that he liked to get close to players because it meant that he could teach them better and get to know them and, help them with the rugby side even better. Yeah. Do you have a view on that?
Yeah, look, I do. Look, I certainly want to. I want the players to feel super comfortable that they could, whatever they wanted to tell me, whether it's rugby or not rugby, that they feel comfortable in seeking counsel, in talking about whatever. Most of them don't want to take. Most of them want to talk about footy. They don't want to talk about other things because I'm struggling.
Young man.
Yeah, and will it affect me at the selection table if I expose a weakness or whatever. So, and there's other people in the environment that they can talk to as well. So that's fine. And obviously there's a significant generational difference. So there's all sorts of things. But I mean, philosophically and practically, all I try and do is to be the same person every day. So I don't have highs, I have lows. So that you're going to get the same person 365 days of the year, right? So and just understand that. So if that makes you feel comfortable, then you know what you're going to get. I'm not big on mixing socially with them. I mean, they're going to. They're 20, I'm 60. It doesn't work out. I'm their grandfather. But if we've got a social, I'll have it. We'll have a beer and a chat if we've got a barbie on, that sort of thing. But I'm not engaging in their social life. They don't want me to engage in their social life. I just think people want. They want a good consistency in their life. They want to know that you are who you are, and you're not Jekyll and Hyde. You're not this person one day and that person another day. They know how I coach. They know how I provide feedback for them, and hopefully they can be comfortable in that.
Lockie McCaffrey told me that the Brumbies is the only place he's ever played where the guys who weren't in the match day 23 were just as eager to help the team and improve and were, willing to work hard and not kicking stones, basically, for not than any other place he's ever been. You've been there a long time. Is it something that's just happened naturally, or is it something that the players, the coaches, people who've been there have tried to push this or cultivate this positive, hardworking culture that you guys seem to have there?
You have to work. It doesn't come naturally. I mean, most people don't deal with disappointment well. That's human nature. So I don't get selected this week. I thought I could have. I thought I should have. I thought I've trained well. I don't get selected. I don't do. Who deals with that well? Who says, "Oh, well, happy days"? So you've got it. You've got to actively develop that culture. So you've got to have people responsible, either in your non-23, and then you've got to have people in the 23 and your leaders who recognise the value of those people. And we would always, I know Alan or somebody would, in that circle at the end of our execution session, would always thank the non-23 for their efforts in preparing the team. So it gets recognised weekly, and I do think, again, it's really important that in terms of your head coach providing good feedback. So I think Dan's fantastic. So he would talk to every person who doesn't get selected, or every person who in and out or whatever. So he'd get them up, and whether it's 1 minute or a 5-minute conversation, he's just so thorough in making sure that he's done a face-to-face with every person. So and that person agree, disagree, again, that's up to you. But you've had a face-to-face with your head coach, and you've had an opportunity to make a couple of points, and he's made a couple of points, and we move on. Then we have to have an environment where the 23 need to win on the weekend, and we've all got to contribute to that. So you have to work hard on it, and there's lots of moving parts. Your leadership group, your head coach, whether it's your leaders in the forwards, we're doing, guys are doing opposition lineouts, your tight heads trying to emulate what Taniela Tupou does, et cetera. All guys have got to do the work. They've got to understand, and they've got to prepare the team. But it gets worked on every week by the processes that are in place to give them feedback, to give them understanding. It won't make you happy, and you might leave at the end of the day and say, "Fuck, I don't agree."
Yeah.
But in that training time, that you've done the most you can, and you've conducted yourself around here with your chin up, your chest out. I remember when I was over at Gloucester, and look, a couple of guys, they didn't like not getting selected, and boys go for coffees, and et cetera. And there was one guy they used to sort of laugh about a bit, it was never going to have a cappuccino with a bloke. It was always a sappuccino. Like, he'd just sap the whole group, because he'd be constantly whinging about where he was in the scheme of things. And then if that happens, who can fix that? The players that he's talking to, the players that he's sapping with, right? Yeah. And that's where your squad has to take responsibility. So what is the strength of your leadership group? What is the honesty within your leadership group?
Is that something you educate them on, Laurie? Because
absolutely.
They're all young men, and I was an idiot when I was 20. I'm still an idiot.
Yeah.
But is that something that you guys will sit down and teach people how to actually work through that?
Absolutely. To making sure that you do deal with things, that you don't just ignore things. So if people are sapping in our environment, to give them, it's not so much a strategy, they'll deal with it in their own way. But the understanding is that we can't let it happen. We cannot let that happen. So everybody will have a slightly different strategy. Some people will be more confrontational. Some people will go and send him a WhatsApp or grab him later or something. But it has to be dealt with. It must be dealt with, because it's not positive for our environment. So the understanding that when you come into the leadership group, that's important. But even if you've got 4 guys who aren't in a leadership group and someone starts, putting everything down, then educate the group to say, well, I'll give you an ear for 30 seconds, but then we've got to move on. That's not making anybody better.
Talk to me about coaching overseas. Was it good for your education as a coach to experience a different rugby environment and learn from how other people over the other side of the world do things?
Yeah, definitely. And look, I certainly found the experience at Munster invaluable, and primarily because of the some of the generationally great players that were there. So learning off of Paul O'Connell around his line-out work, but also around his leadership, how he talked to other players. Ronan O'Gara, again, just about his preparation, about his game management. So I learned, they had like 13 of the Irish internationals at the time. Like they had some great players. Your Jerry Frownleys and your Wallace and Quinlans, and they had some players there. Even Dougie Howlett, spent a lot of time just sitting down with Doug and talking about drills and how things can be done better in environments. Learned and culturally different. And the Irish are fantastic because they don't have huge numbers of players. They don't have traditionally fantastic athletes, et cetera. They've just got a real ambition that they'll work for each other and they'll work hard. So I learned a lot about environments, about the value of players in driving a program, in driving a culture, in dragging people along. And Gloucester was a little bit different because they were in a real transition phase, and they'd lost a lot of players, and they went on a bit of a recruitment binge. But it was really a scattergun approach. It was a couple of Welsh guys and a Scottish bloke and an ex-Kiwi international, and we'll just throw them all together and we'll be unbelievable. And it doesn't work like that. So it was a really good blokes, all good blokes, but a really challenging environment there and they really didn't have a leadership structure in place. They had poor habits around game day, poor habits around recovery, et cetera. So just trying to get a lot of things in place and the continual turnover of players. So it didn't even have a song to sing after a win, like really? It was nothing, like nothing in place to share. So it was a really, I felt we made not a lot of progress in the first year, and then got rid of some dead wood, because I got over there 1 week before the comp started. But then we made some real progress second year into third year, changed our game, changed our structures. And I thought we were on a pretty good footing. And then, I decided to come home. I had no family over there, and it was 3 years with no family. Just
get a bit grim after a while.
It does, yeah. But two very, very different environments. One where I probably learnt an amazing amount off the player group, and one where I was really challenged to try and develop almost from scratch from all these bad habits. A culture and environment of excellence, of quality, of oneness, of all in the same direction. So great learning experiences, both of them.
I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think I read an article where you were talking about the experience in Munster and how a lot of the guys grow up aspirational to play for their province. Yep. Like playing for Munster is the pinnacle of a lot of these young guys, and they have a deep attachment to the area, the team. It's their home, and they're not just playing for their teammates; they're playing for their area and their province. And I've been reading a lot of books lately on teams like Barcelona and how they like to cultivate their own talent from a young age, bring them through so that they know the systems, they know the area, and fundamentally give a fuck about the place that they're playing for.
Yep.
Is that important in your view? Because it seems to me like it would be.
Yeah, I really do. I really do think it is, and I guess that'd be my point about, say, Gloucester v Munster. Is there were maybe one, two, three Gloucester-born people in the squad at the time, but in Munster it's that real parish. So whether you're playing your GA or whether you're playing rugby, it's a real sort of parish, small community type thing. So you're right. And I remember once we played Sale in a European Cup game at I think it was Edgeley Park. I think the ground was, and I remember Paul O'Connell saying that like today it wasn't about winning, it wasn't about losing. It was about a performance that he and we could be proud of for our parents, for our brothers, our sisters, our wives, our girlfriends, our community, and like it really, and like it's the only time I'd ever heard him talk like that. But he was fearful that we wouldn't put on a performance. Did not mention winning or losing, but the performance to be proud of for the people that care most about you. And that was a real driving mentality, and still is, of the team. Now they needed some top end people, whether it's your Johnny Langford, whether it's your Dougie Howlett, whether it was your Jean de Villiers, and now they've still got a few South Africans there now. But the essence of the team are people, from Cork, from Kerry, from Killarney, from Skibbereen, whatever. But they're Munster. They're Munster people, born and bred, and have had an ambition from day one to wear that red jersey with the three kings and the stag on it, and that's what drives them, and that's the essence of who they are, and what makes them such a tight knit and proud team.
You mentioned at the start that it's been hard to do personal development the last couple of years. What about before that? What do you just look at rugby, or do you look outside rugby for other ideas from other sports, sports science, meditation? Do you look at other areas as well?
I do. I mean, obviously look at rugby for the game itself, but in terms of leadership, in terms of your amateur sports psychology, which coaches are, how to get the best out of people, what your environment should be like, how to be, what are the keys to being a good assistant coach, how to provide feedback. So there's so many things that you're trying to that you find, and so whether it's on your Twitter where I might follow 30, 40, 50, 60 different little things. So some of them are organisations, some of them are individual people, your sports psychs, etc. So you're constantly trying to increase your frame of your skill and reference, and primarily through social media, a little bit through reading books, podcasts, seminars, all those things. And you're right, that they're significantly, all those things are, a lot of them are about how you create an environment, and how you bring everybody along in that environment, because the rugby's an important part of it, but the environment you create, the leadership within the group, if you don't have that, then you're very fragile. You might be wonderful footballers, but if you don't have genuine capacity to work as a group, to operate the good times, the bad times, for the non-23 to support the 23, to have that winning mindset, to be able to fight through difficult times. So that's where you're constantly trying to find, what do they do at Barcelona? What does, and finding quotes from people like, what does Ash Barty do for her, her mental toughness, her focus, so that you might pick up a concept, a sentence, a quote, etc., that you'll store and use.
Do you have any books that you recommend to people frequently?
No, I don't. I sort of just scan, through a few things, but I wouldn't recommend one book. Again, I find reading and what you get out of it to be very personal.
Yeah.
And again, I'm a great believer in people finding where they need to go rather than always being directed in where they need to go. So I know what I like. I know what relates to me, and so I'm trying to develop myself, and that takes up enough of my time.
Do you? So I've just started coaching, and it's opened a whole new heap of doors for me that I didn't know existed. And the more I learn, the more I realize I've got so much to learn.
Well, yeah.
Do you have a way of, like, do you journal? Do you write things down that you know? Do you have some sort of process for remembering all this stuff?
Yep, I've got books. So every time I have an idea, I write it in my notebook. So I've got years and years of notebooks. So I wrote 2 or 3 things down there this morning.
Yeah.
So I've got all my coaching sessions on hard copy. So I've got folders and folders and folders of drills of training sessions. I've got every. Another book where I do all my pre-game. So what I talk about pre-game, and then the notes that I take during the game, etc. So it's all documented in different things. So I'd write an idea down. I take my book everywhere, and an idea might come to me, and I'll just take a quick note. So and then I've got a supply of diaries on the table. I'll get through one and into the next one.
Matt, I won't take too much more of your time up. I'm super appreciative of this. Thank you very much.
No problem.
Can I just ask, on game day, you just mentioned you write notes during halftime on game day. I'm new to coaching, so I'm still trying to work out the best process for me on game day. What's your process on game day in terms of setting up the day for the boys and then giving feedback at halftime or during the game?
Yeah. Well, the important thing for me is to have a clear understanding of what you think the team or the individual needs to do for us to win the game. So that becomes your guiding principles through the week. Whether it's around breakdown, whether it's around defensively, where we think we'll be challenged and where we think we need to be good. And then you've got to drive that consistency of message, so that you've done your analysis of the opposition. We've come up with a style of play that we need to, which doesn't differ markedly from week to week. It's just a couple of different plays. This is how we think we'll be challenged in defence. These are the key things. Like one side might kick a lot, one side might play to the edge a lot, one side might pick through you, whatever. So understanding what's coming, understanding the opportunities, and then that drives what you do on Monday, what you do on Tuesday, what you do on Thursday, and then that should drive your key messaging pre-game, isn't it? That you're not trying to give 100 messages. If I'm sitting down with the forwards, what are our 2 keys in defence? What's our key around work rate or accuracy? Where we'll be challenged at the breakdown? What's important? It's whatever, a few things, and then that's got to be my reference point for half time again. I can't be talking about fucking something completely different. I've got to be constantly. So I've got to get it right. I've got to get it right on Monday, or if I need to make some subtle changes during the week into thought process, we do. But I can't all of a sudden leap out at half time and be. Most often you've got to back yourself to say, well, we've done the work. This is what we've done all week. We think it'll work, and most often you're not succeeding because either you're not getting what you planned right. Very rarely is it something else has happened that was just totally out of the blue or shock you. So it's about getting back to your processes. What can we do better defensively? Do we need to square up better? Are we slow to our feet? Are we not working back hard enough? Are we a little bit slow on chasing our breakdown in? All the things or back to your game model, or back to your messaging for your week, and just and pick a couple of things. What's going well? Where are we getting our pay? Is it quick ruck ball going through them? Is it 2 passes off the ruck? So again, balancing like our feedback. Where are we good? Because halftime can't all be just about negatives. It's got to be there's got to be a list, 2 or 3 or 4 things. Fucking, this is red hot. Yeah, we can go a bit better. And again, limiting yourself. There's a lot of talk about, for every 1 negative, you've got to be offering 2 or 3 positives. Otherwise, people tune out. So again, making sure that there are positives, there are work-ons, there are positive work-ons, and you're shifting between the two, so that you got to send them out with a clear mind, chest out, and a genuine belief that if they do more of this and less of that, we'll win the game.
What makes a good coach?
There's no one thing. Because, I mean, everybody's different. Everybody's different. But I would say, you've got to have a strong work ethic. Obviously, you've got to spend time. You've got to understand your game. Like, if you don't understand, if you really got to have, I believe, have an in-depth understanding of your game, and even if you're coaching a particular area of the game, you've got to make the effort to understand the whole game, because you've got to know where your piece fits in. So definitely, being a student of the game is most important. Again, coaches are different, but I think you've obviously got to have a relationship with the players. If you don't have a good relationship with the players, and I think of someone like Eddie Jones, who everybody talks about what a hard taskmaster he is, but that's oftentimes, most often, with his staff. So he's trying to get the absolute best out of his staff so that their preparation is faultless. He's a different beast with the players. He can be lighthearted, encouraging. He can be also demanding. But he's got a great relationship with the players. Doesn't always have a great relationship with his fellow staff because he rides them so hard. But he understands he can't ride the players like that all the time. So a really good balance of making sure that everybody's work ethic is beyond reproach, everybody's detail is beyond reproach, but in the end, the players have got to do it. So you've got to have that relationship there that they believe in what you're doing. They believe that you genuinely care about them and what we're doing, and that they in the end are the guys that will control everybody's destiny.
Mate, I've got a couple more questions for you, and then I'll let you go.
Yep.
Mentors. I'm been very lucky as someone who's just got into coaching. I consider Palm's a mentor of mine in terms of scrum coaching. Got a great coach at South, Todd Loudon. How important is mentors for not only coaching but for people? Like, and do you have a mentor or people that you talk to?
Not really. Not really. Look, I think potentially having mentors. I mean, it's really important. I mean, my personality is look, I'm a sort of historian. I'm a researcher, and as a researcher, you delve into things yourself, and you compile all the information, and you make sense of it. And that's how I work. Yeah. But by doing it that way, other people work by bouncing ideas off people, etc. But the way my brain works, and I love talking to people, but I guess I don't chase it when the circumstances allow. I love talking, whether it's about the game itself or different aspects of it. But my personality is to research, is to be a little bit eclectic, to pick the eyes out of things, to make sense of it in my own mind, and then I deliver it, and then I'm happy to take feedback on and be open-minded about how I can improve things. But that's my personality. So again, you've got to do things that operate, that help, operate in the way that you want to operate.
It seems like being yourself is pretty key.
Well,
Not trying to be someone else and just being true to yourself and making what everyone else says work for you. Because like you could tell me absolutely everything you know about rugby, and I'm not going to be able to coach like you. I have to be me.
Correct.
Is that how you view that?
That's absolutely right. Is it you'll get information. So all this information comes in, right? But in the end, it has to become your idea. It doesn't have to be unique, but it has to have gone through your thought processes and then into your language, into how you present, et cetera, et cetera. To just simply coach, and I hate it when somebody says, "Oh, here's a session. Can you go and coach it for me?" Because again, I like to have thought about it. I like to be really clear in my own mind about what I want, so that they don't understand about what I see and then what I say. So yeah, that's my process. Again, other people are different. I remember I was listening to a podcast with Justin Langer, and he said that when he first applied, I'm not sure whether it was the Western Australia head coach position or the Australian, and he got all this stuff off somewhere, and he sort of was presenting it, and he got halfway through the interview and he said, stop. That he didn't feel comfortable. He said, "Listen, I'm not ready for this," because he hadn't internalised it. It wasn't his stuff. He was just presenting somebody else's. These are the 5 important things of head coaching, and this and this and this, a whole list. But none of it was his. That might all be valid, and that might indeed become your philosophy. But you've got to take the time to internalise it for it to become yours. For you to have massaged it and to work it in the way you're wired and the way you present, and that's absolutely crucial. That you have to be yourself.
Mate, last question for you. And I ask everyone that I speak to this because we usually get some very insightful answers. What advice would you give 18-year-old Laurie Fisher?
Probably to be more open and engaging. Again, it's personality-wise that personality is to do everything behind the scenes and to present the finished product. But so my advice would be to get out there and be much more engaging in talking to people, in how you develop your philosophies, and to include other people, to bring other people along for the ride in whatever you do, rather than internalise, here it is, let's all go. I think everybody wants to feel as though that they're on the same boat, that they're all along for the same ride. So to try, and it's hard. Something like that would be hard because we are who we are. But again, you got to chip away. Nobody's perfect, and nobody will ever be perfect. But you just got to chip away. And bottom line is, people want to be involved. People like to be involved. Doesn't matter what it is, but people like to be involved. People like to be involved in evolving something and taking ownership of something. So to be better at that.
That's a great way to end. Thank you so much, mate. Hope you get a bit of downtime before it all kicks off again.
Yeah, my downtime's about watching footy and just enjoying a nice slow day.
Well, mate, hopefully you get out of lockdown soon and get out to the pub or down the coast and have a beer somewhere.
Draft rashes would be lovely, mate. I'm aching for one or two of those.
I had my first beer on Monday and it was marvellous, absolutely marvellous. Mate, thank you so much, mate. Say hello to Palms for me. I appreciate this so much, mate. Enjoyed it very much. Thank you.
Pleasure, mate. All the best.
Thanks, Laurie. Cheers, mate.
Cheers, mate.